day, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. This is Gordon Bates, photographer at Graphing of Photons. I'm going to show you how to use conditional blending and color blend mode to paint this color onto a subject like this. So where this image started was right here. You notice that the image we're starting with does not have this color of light on them. The way I took this photo is I used a continuous light source, a video light, to light up the subject for about a second or a second and a half while he was making an effort to stand still. And then I had him move, and I pulsed studio flashes, photography lights, and it froze the action and lit up the subject. I could have used color gels. I could have used the same color of color gels that I used to make this light red on the studio photography strobe to also light up the subject red. But that's not what happened. So I'm going to go through the steps that I did, and I'm going to show you how to paint this color onto the subject here and make it look like you used color gels for studio lighting effect. So let's delete all the layers that I started with. Let's delete all the layers that I added, and let's just start where I actually started, which was with this photo. So in order to do a little bit of sharpening before we begin, I'm going to do Control J, and that duplicates a layer. If you double click where the words are, rename it as Sharpen, because that's what we're going to do right now. There are so many methods of sharpening. I'm going to use the quickest method I know, which is under Filter, Sharpen, and Unsharp Mask. I'm only paying attention to this part of the image because that's what I want to sharpen. It doesn't really matter what this looks like because we're going to mask that out. Okay, so you play around with your sliders and you get the effect that you want. I want this to be really sharp, really dramatic. So right about there. You can preview your changes, compare before and after, with checking or unchecking this preview box. I like that. So what I don't want is the subject to be sharpened like this. I'm going to create a layer mask on the sharpen layer that I just made. This is the layer mask button. If you hover over it, it comes up and says Add Layer Mask. So add a layer mask, and I don't want the sharpening to affect the main subject here. So I'm going to paint with the brush tool. I'm going to paint black. If you don't have black already, you can select black by clicking on this. If you click on this square here, and make sure you have the bottom left all zeros, and with just a little bit of hardness to my brush, I'm going to paint paint over the parts of the image that I do not want to be affected by sharpening. There's a button underneath backspace and above enter. It has a / and a pipe on it. It shows you what you're masking. We're not painting red. Red is just the color of the indicator that shows you what you're masking. So mask out what I do not want to be affected. And that looks pretty good. Looks like I've fully covered the part of the subject that I do not want to be affected by sharpening. You can turn the sharpening layer on and off to see the effect that it had. And now I'm going to create a new layer. This is where we're going to paint this color onto the parts of this image that we want to be affected. To select this color, you click on this color square. Make sure you're still on the brush. Click on this color square. And with your color picker, you click on the color that you want the subject to have. So about like that, looks good. Click OK. And now we can start painting on to the subject. Now I'm going to do this pretty quick. It's not going to be perfect. If I was doing this as an actual edit to produce an image, I would give it a lot more care and attention. I care about you guys as photographers. But in the interest of time, I also care about not taking all of the time that I need to do this perfectly. And I want to get back here on the back side of the pants too. The little details that matter. So let's see, okay, we gotta do the back of the neck, we're gonna get all the hair, and the ear. Okay, looks good. We're done, right? No, just kidding. What I'm seeing is that it doesn't look good. So I'm going to do a little thing called conditional blending. And I only want this color to blend if the layers below it are not black. So I deliberately said blend if not black. Let's see why. There's a thing called conditional blending. If you double click on approximately this region of the layer tile, I guess it'd be called a layer tile, I don't know what the real name for this is. If you double click on it, it gets you to layer style, and we want to blend this layer if the underlying layer is not black. So blend if not black. Let's cut the black out of the situation by sliding this slider over to the right. You can immediately start to see the effect where the black is not included. It's a little harsh, a little abrupt, so let's feather it off. If you hold Alt, this slider can actually be split, and you can feather it off. Alright, so I think we're done now because that looks great. Actually, it doesn't look great, because hair doesn't look like that. We're going to do one more little thing. We're going to change the blend mode of this layer so that it's just blending the color. We want to get back the texture that's underneath this color layer. The texture of the skin, the texture of the hair, texture of the jersey. So there are many ways to do this. We could have done it in the conditional blending window. Man, I'm kind of bad on my vocabulary. Sorry about that. So we could have done it in this window where the conditional blending was being done. Blend mode. Color. We could have done it like that. Instead, I'm going to do it right here. And you notice you got the texture of the hair back, texture of the skin, and the texture of the jersey. I'm gonna, just to make this look a little more believable, you can see I kind of missed right there. Let's fix that, because it's bothering me. This could have been a little more perfect. Not a little more perfect. This could have been a little more believable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the opacity of this layer to where the color just starts to creep in. Okay, so now it's actually quite believable if I were to tell you that I used a color gel on this, because you can see the color. It looks like the color of the light was not the same as the color of this light. So let's look at a before and after. If you hold Alt and you click on this eyeball, it's going to deselect all layers except this one. So here's our before, here's our after. Before, after. Before, after. Before. With sharpening, without sharpening. With sharpening, without sharpening. And with sharpening, with color. With sharpening, with color. With sharpening, no color. With sharpening, with color. With sharpening, no color. With sharpening, with color. Cool. So it took about 13 minutes for us to go through this tutorial. I think if you're doing this as your first attempt, it probably took you about 25 or 30 minutes, because maybe you stumbled around a little bit, maybe you experimented with your colors. It could have taken you a little bit of time to look up the vocabulary that I was not perfectly accurate on. Like, I don't know what this is called, layer tile, not sure. But maybe it takes you 30 minutes to do this tutorial for the first time. It took us, as I was doing it with you, took me about 13 minutes. When you get good at this, it's going to take you about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that's how you know you're learning, is that you're able to do this more efficiently with less stumbling. And you can very realistically do this in about 5 minutes. So, we used conditional blending, color layers, and the color blend mode to paint colors onto an image and create the effect that we used color gel. I hope this is something that you can use and you can apply it to other scenarios outside of this, like color change or change the color of eyes. maybe put lipstick on somebody, take lipstick off somebody, change the color of somebody's shirt. There are so many applications for this, and I hope you find one that suits your needs. I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much, and have a good day.